Okay. All right, now we're recording.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Stacy.
Oh, no, thank you.
No, that's the main classic Stacy.
Was that said after you said it? It must have been. Yeah.
I think it's classic Stacy. All right, sorry guys. So if we break this entire piece of stone down into, it's only got like 5 parts. And let me point them out real quick. So I did the blade edge, you know, which has these teeth on it, and the blade edge goes all the way around. So we do the blade edge, and then you can actually do that kind of quick. And then you have to do the where the chip happens. So you kind of make it approach the thickness. And you can add little marks to make them shaded, but at every saw tip, there's like a ridge that comes down. Every saw tip has a ridge. Okay, so you have, well, the first part that I'm describing is the teeth that go all the way around. Then, I don't know how they do this, but they make it so that there's a structural center line in this blade. And almost like, you know, and then that separates the left side from the right side. And the only reason the artist is using, the artist that's actually drawing the piece of stone, not the guy that carved it. The guy that's drawing it is trying to show that there's a light side and a shadow side. And it almost feels like a mountain range. You know, it's like if you're like flying in an airplane and you look down at like a mountain, you know, the light side over here, the light side of the mountain, and then versus the shadow side of the mountain. And it's a really smooth slope, which is why all those marks seem to be almost exactly the same. You get a little bit smaller as they get to the top. And if you see something, you can draw it. You know, you don't have to like wait for me to do it. I just decided to do the tips of the saw tips first, and then the ridge second. There's all this extra excess that's like chipped off at the bottom. And Alexander, the bottom of this blade, the one that's like kind of irregularly chipped at the base, I think that was where they attached it to a handle. That's just a hunch. I have to read the book, but this book is all about cave paintings and primitive and prehistoric man. And we're gonna draw some cave paintings next. So there's that to look forward to. We got a woolly mammoth. We got a cave drawing of a woolly mammoth. We've got a woolly rhino. We'll see what we have time for. So right, the collection of marks, there's lighter marks, smaller marks, and fewer marks on the left side. They seem to be organized in lines of straights. You know, they almost look like beads or something, but the right side is clearly in shadow. And I suspect that the underside of the blade tips, you know, those little teeth, those have the tops of those are shaded too. And it's all the same kind of, oh, that's interesting too. These tips, the tops of these tips are shaded as well. So the light must be coming from above in addition to the side. So I'm gonna draw a little arrow above and the side. So this is how I envision the, imagine you like put like a piece of wood on here and then you wrap the wood with some string or leather, like a leather strap. It goes all the way down the handle. And that's how blades are constructed today. I mean, they have, you know, metal plates, the blade and the handle part, and then they wrap wood around it. Alex, you said something?
Yeah, I was showing mine.
Let's see it. Oh my gosh, that thing is awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me see if I can capture that.
So you
I'm
can,
not on my iPad, so
if you add more to the right, then it'll be the right side will be more in shadow.
oh, I gotcha. Hold on.
but that's really cool. That looks,
Alex, I got it. Thank you.
I would hunt that.
Thanks for being so patient.
Okay.
All right,
Thumbs
so
up.
it is now 1:21. So let's, I don't think we're going to get to the long one because I want to start on some of these animals. It's going to be worth it. Trust me. If you want to take a screenshot of the last blade, you can like do that next. But yeah, 1 minute warning on this thing. I want to finish the handle. I like the idea of these leather straps wrapping around. You can put like a loop, like a leather loop. You could like attach it to a belt. And then you can also imagine that there would be an arrow, like a stick attached to this arrowhead over here. And it might not even be an arrowhead. It could be. I mean, it could be like a miniature blade as well, a small knife. I mean, you can really carve this flint into, a variety of sizes and shapes depending on the job that you're trying to do. Cool. That turned out pretty well. All right. All right, let's do cave painting number one. And then look at these. We didn't have time for these, but this one looks like, this one actually looks like my kitchen knife. Like that's what I use to like chop tomatoes. And then we have these really epic spearheads. I think these spearheads that have these hooks on them are actually for fish. I mean, I'm sure they're for any animal that you want the point to stay inside while you're hunting. Anyway, and the drawings, and on top of it, the drawings are gorgeous. All right, so you got to bear with me here because these pictures are, when I say they're primitive, I mean it's prehistoric man. So what I was envisioning is that as we sketch these animals, you almost want the page to look like the wall of a cave. That's how I'm envisioning it. Let's see. Move this over here.
Cool glasses, Alexander.
I need
Oh, yeah.
a new piece of paper. All right, so there's something about connecting with, an artist that was working 20,000 years ago. So they obviously didn't have any school, they didn't have any training, but they did need these animals to survive. So they were like passing along this information that they learned about, how to hunt. Anyway, it looks a lot like an elephant, but it's got fur on it. So let's just give this a shot. I'm going to start up here with the back of the head, because I know elephants, and I've never seen a woolly mammoth. Supposedly, there's a fake video on YouTube that looks really real of a black and white videotape of a woolly mammoth. Anyway, so they've got this big cranium, so this big dome head, and then it dips down into the forehead, and then we can add, and if you look at the eye, the eye actually looks like an O. You ever seen like a stylized O where like the outside is bigger and thicker, both sides, and then it gets thin at the top, like it connects like that. Like the letter O, it's kind of stylized. That's how I'm seeing this woolly mammoth eye. And I wish I could zoom in further, but I think this is going to be the best way to do it. And I'm drawing off the TV too, so. All right, the woolly mammoth's eye is going to be at the lower part of the forehead. There's a little tick mark underneath for like an eyelid. And then we kind of get into the exciting part, which is the trunk. And I love the fact that the trunk, it's almost like the artist wasn't sure like what position to put the trunk in, or he was trying to show whoever saw this that the trunk moves in a lot of different positions. So this isn't like the best training class on like how to draw, because it's, in fact, the trunk looks narrower towards the head. And we know that elephant trunks, and I'm assuming woolly mammoth trunks, would start wider and get narrower as they went out. Anyway, we can draw it in its most dominant position.
And Trevor, it is 140. Oh, excuse me. It's 125.
Okay, cool. I was like, what? Okay, 125. Yeah, we're good. This is a super long trunk, and I think that's okay. We're not trying to draw like a woolly mammoth well. We're trying to like draw a cave painting well. So it's a unique kind of experience. I'm looking at the end, and basically the experience that we're comparing it to is what we know about modern day elephants, real, that we've seen in person. And like modern day elephants have like the little, the end of their trunk, it's almost like they have these little fingers that they can like pick stuff up. It looks as though there's a little hole at the end of this trunk right here. Oh my gosh, wait. Could these be tusks? Could these lines be tusks and not the trunk? You see what I'm saying? Like, could this line here be an actual tusk of the woolly mammoth? Because I know woolly mammoth had tusks, didn't they?
I think so.
It's very, very interesting. Okay, so maybe that's what these lines are. Maybe these lines are the big tusks. Anyway, I shouldn't have probably invented that. When you follow the line down to the tail, it looks like it's like an unobserved line, but it's actually pretty good, in the sense that the dip down at the base of the base of the head, that's the neck, and then when you follow the spine, the first big arc is the rib cage. So this is the top of the rib cage, and then there's a second bump, and the second bump that leads you into the tail, that's the pelvis. So like they're not looking. They know these, and I'm not saying they had names for the anatomy, but they weren't just making these things up out of the imagination. So I'm dipping it down at the neck, and I'm going to do one major arc for the neck, for the rib cage, and then I'm going to do a smaller bump for the pelvis. So the line down the back is going to be dips in for the neck, long arc for the rib cage, small arc for the pelvis, and then we'll do this tail that hangs off the back. And the tail, that looks like it's moving as well. Like the tail is in like a different position. Like he tried it twice, so you can almost like see the tail wiggle. It looks like he tried the legs. He came along the bottom, and then the tail was in the wrong place, so he moved it. But you can see that there's like an underdrawing where he made it too small the first time. Hopefully you guys like this. I think this is like so fascinating. I don't see much indication of an ear, but I do see that there's an S curve separating the face from the body. So this S curve might be, in fact, what was supposed to be the ear, or maybe the woolly mammoth was just so furry that, the ear just like was covered. You know what I mean? There's plenty of, my dog, you can't even see my dog's ears. He's so furry. Actually, my dog looks a lot like this woolly mammoth. No offense to Bailey, but he does. All right, so there's the fur that's like the bangs, kind of separating the top of the head from the forehead. I can put that in there. And then there's hair like on the side of the cheeks. That's why you can't tell where the tusks are, kind of. And then we're going to get the legs, and the legs are kind of like tree trunks. They are big rectangles with like rounded elephant feet. So I'm going to draw a vertical coming from the head. Just draw this vertical straight down. And however big you make it is however tall your woolly mammoth is. I guess I have to zoom out slightly. I hate to do it. We've got the nice rounded foot. And then we'll follow the fur down the torso, the chest, and then you're going to get the second leg.
Excuse me, Trevor.
What's this?
I am leaving my iPhone, and I think I can get on my iPad.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Hey guys, Kristen, my fiance, just texted me. This is the second to last week. So their last week is the last class. And she wants me to let you know that we have a second Gilman class that runs on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And then we also have art camp. We have art camp all summer for your age group. Okay. It's so interesting because you have to use lines, like for the back of the leg. It's like the artist used the line, but then, and he definitely used a dark line for the front leg, and then it turns into fur. And he really does capture a nice line for, the movement of fur. And in a way, it's like so simple, but it's like so effective. There's fur on the top of the leg up here. Not much fur on the front leg. And there's no toes either, which kind of freaks me out. The angle of the rib cage is really steep, meaning like from the neck all the way to the pelvis. He's really tall up front and he's kind of short at the bottom, almost like a bear. You ever seen a bear? They've got big arms and they stand up really tall, and then their legs are like really short. So they're already tall just by standing on their arms. Anyway, so the reason I bring that up is that if you look at the bottom of the rib cage, that oval for the rib cage is angled downward. And it looks like they've got some pretty massive thighs, which you can imagine. Short, squat, but big. And then that goes into the foot down here. And there's not much. There's an artistic device that you use to make things look like one object is behind the other. So say I have like have a football right here. There's a football. And then I want to show the bowling pin is behind the football. So then there's my bowling pin. The idea is that if the line of the bowling pin doesn't touch the football, then it makes it seem like the ball is in front of the bowling pin. So like, but just by keeping like the separation of the line, it makes things feel further away. And even the prehistoric artist that made this woolly mammoth was able to separate the front leg from the back leg. He did it here too. So this is the front leg and the back leg. Front leg, very furry. Back leg, smaller, lighter, and it doesn't touch. All right, let's get this leg hair and this belly hair. I don't think he's got any spears in him. A lot of these drawings, these cave drawings, were depictions of hunting, because this is like a main source of food. Prehistoric man would build houses out of the bones and the tusks, and they'd use all of it to survive. It's like Ice Age kind of stuff. Maybe we'll try we'll do a quick horse, and then we'll do a rhino. If we have, what would you guys rather do? Would you rather do the rhino or would you rather do the horse?
Rhino.
Okay.
Rhino.
Are you guys finished with this one, by the way? Or how much do you need more time? Which one?
I just need to finish the hair.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I gotta finish the hair too. All right, so we'll finish quick, and then we'll do this rhino before everybody else comes. There's a nice cluster at the thigh. Again, the eye is really powerful. I can't get over these tusks. And then there's also these like random lines, which we still don't know what they are, whether they're like angles of the tusks, whether they're spears. Maybe these marks are spears, but they're not going into them at all. I don't know. I think it might be movement. And Stacy's back for the rhino.
Wow.
You back for the rhino?
I am so glad. Yes, I am back to the rhino and so glad to be back with you all.
Oh, because not on that other machine, not on that other device.
Yeah, no, I'm back on the iPad. So here I am.
So you have not fixed the problem?
I think I did,
Oh, you did. Okay, good.
or at least part of it, so that I am able to join you all on my iPad. So, and it is now 1:37.
I know. We're sketching this rhino. This rhino is sick. Okay.
Okay, that woolly rhinoceros looks like it's eaten its full.
Dude, it is it's a woolly rhinoceros. It's like it's extinct. I can't believe how cool this thing is. There's a really beautiful sense of line weight, and there's also a beautiful sense of smudging. So these were done on rocks with some kind of pigment that lasted 30,000 years. I don't know if they were burned in or what, but I think we should just, I don't know. I don't even know where to start. Maybe we should start with the horn. I mean, maybe let's start with the horn. That's a beautiful horn. And I do not think this animal exists anymore. So this is like we're drawing like the only record of an extinct animal. It's like kind of special.
Yeah, the rhinoceros today doesn't have that woolly outer coat. And I wonder if that woolly outer coat was a protective coat
Ice Age, dude.
due to weather conditions where it may have most likely, or the majority of them lived.
Are you sure you're not a scientist, Stacy?
Well, I wasn't going to talk about that today.
Okay. All right. So the face, the snout, I should say, there is the horn. Then there's like a transition into the snout, and then it like dips in at the nose, and then you get a rounded forehead. So horn, nose, dip in, and then the rounded forehead. We got to quickly get that eye in there, and we got to get this second horn. It's a double horn. Sweet. We'll get the bangs. Looks like there's 4 stripes indicating the transition from the head into the neck. And then he's a rhino, man. Like it's almost like a bull. Like he's got this huge the ridge at the base of the neck, where the neck meets the essentially the thoracic vertebra. So we're gonna the bump is a concave up. Then his back is flat. I don't want to say totally flat, but it's like pretty flat, especially compared to the elephant or the woolly mammoth. So let's like go from this haunch with the neck, and then it's going to slide all the way back. We do get a gentle S curve, and the top of the S curve, the rounded part, does suggest the rib cage. You know, you got to see the rib cage, and then it dips down again, and then that enters into the pelvis. So that pelvis, you know, just like every pelvis, you know, that's the base of the spine, and then the base of the spine leads into the tail. So it's just the tails are just the extension of the vertebra beyond the pelvis. And I'm drawing the thickness of the tail. I'm not like drawing an outline. I'm actually just I'm drawing the thickness immediately. And I'm trying to think if I should do that with the line. I mean, look how thick the line is. So it's like, yes, I'm using a line, but I'm also drawing the line as if it were like, you know, part of a part, like it's a much thicker line and it's a shadow. It's a new idea. You know, if your pencil tip is so fine that you can't get a thick line, then you have to, you know, get the line first and then thicken it. You actually are like shading that line, making it bigger. All right, so we went from head to toe. We went from nose to tail. And you throw in his back thigh here. Now let's like see what, let's like do the bottom of him. Go back to the nose.
And the right.
We're gonna do the upper lip, which looks like it's a backwards L shape. And then we're gonna do the lower lip, which is like, actually it's not a backwards L, it's a regular L. Upper lip, regular L. Lower lip, regular L. And then we're gonna do this epic jawline, one straight, two straights, and then it curves up into the closure. If you think of horses, horses have these really rounded jawbones that lead up to their neck.
We have an overlap, Mr. Twist.
You do. Charles,
Yeah, interestingly enough,
Mr. Merrick,
the rhino. Oh,
what's that?
sorry, Trevor. I was simply going to say the rhinoceros today, the back is not flat and the front horn is higher. It actually sits higher above the snout.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're right. That's a great call.
Yeah, I was just looking at pics.
Yes.
And the rhino.
Alex?
Wow. So you said we were gonna do yeah, no, I am doing that's
Medieval tools.
you said we were gonna draw a picture of the medieval weapons.
Yes, medieval tools.
Medieval tools. Sorry.
Yeah, that's coming on. That's coming on next. So, guys that just came on, this is a cave painting, and honestly, you can draw it. You can try to draw it pretty quickly. So, try to use this as a warm up. I started with the horn, and I went from horn, and I followed the contour all the way back to the tail. So, just try to draw this. We're going to do this for maybe 3 more minutes. If you want to catch up, you start with the horn, and then I did the mouth, which is an L, the lower lip, which is an L, and then I did the jawbone. And he's got like a beard, obviously. The animal is a woolly rhinoceros. It's extinct. We know it basically only through, I think they have found bones, but mainly through cave paintings. So this is a from Lascaux. So it's a cave painting from 20,000 years ago, roughly, in France.
It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. If you guys have a question, you can unmute it and just ask. We need basically the 2 front legs, the belly, and the 2 back legs. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. The front leg and the back leg, and the 2 front legs almost make like what look like a V shape. It's hard to see. He doesn't really give us, the artist doesn't really give us much to go on as far as the hooves. I mean, I can imagine that there would be a hoof here and then another hoof here. You know, you can kind of, you can add more to this if you wish. Undeniably well-fed rhinoceros. So whatever this guy eats, he can consume a lot of calories. I'm looking at the belly being an oval, and the marks that the artist gives us kind of describe the curvature of that belly, which I really love. These are really beautiful drawings, very stylized, very well informed, meaning the artist really knew these animals and, honored them and probably survived on them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the back leg, you can start off with a triangle, that shaded part, which is wild. and that gives you the joint. You know, this like, you know, from the knee is the top of the triangle, and then that brings you into the ankle, and then you got this little hoof. We're gonna go, and some of you guys that just came in, we're gonna switch over to do some medieval tools, and then we're gonna come back to cave paintings. So if you're like really into the cave paintings, we'll have another chance. We've got woolly mammoth. We've got actually hunting humans. There's a bison. There's a stag. We just don't have enough hours in the class to do it all. So there's a smaller knee to ankle. So it's a miniature triangle. And then the front of the leg and then the hoof.
I really like how the triangle that you just did, especially for the right hoof, really is a similar representation of the horn.
Wow, good call. Yeah, I mean, if you look around, there's only so many dark areas. You know, I mean, the horn goes very dark, that triangle goes dark, the tail is kind of filled in, and then there's, you know, some other, you know, darker lines. You know, there's a dark line at the base of the belly here, which is interesting, and then there's delicate lines. Look at these really delicate lines at the haunches up here, at the neck, and then the top of the, you know, the spine. You know, these little angled marks that kind of represent where the spine enters into the rib cage. Anyway, they're you know, people call that, you know, this is prehistory. So these are like basically cavemen making caveman paintings, 20,000 years old. And there's still, even that long ago, there was such a sense of beauty and a kind of a vocabulary that had been developed in mark making. So we're kind of lucky. It's a really beautiful piece. I've never drawn these before either. So let's take, it's 1:48. So gentlemen, we'll switch over to the tools at 1:50. So we got 2 minutes. So you can add some grass. You can just finish, you know, you can finish your rhino. But if you wanted to add anything to it that might be fun, obviously a full moon.
Is anyone finished? Is there anyone who would like to show theirs?
If anybody did finish, you can hold it up, and we'd love to.
I just got here, but so far
Okay.
mine looks like this.
Oh yeah, boy.
Oh, wow.
That's it.
Hold that really, really still. And Alexander, can you also hold it a little further away from the screen so I can get the tools as well? Keep going. Away, away, away. Stop. Wow, I like that woolly mammoth. I like how you shaded the underside of that, woolly mammoth. Nice.
Great.
Yeah, very well done. Can you see my thumbs up? It is there. Ben, were you holding yours up? No, sorry about that. That's Henry. Henry, very well done. He looks like he's very happy. Very happy.
All right.
Thank you.
10 more seconds. Well, 30 more seconds on this. You wait till you see these tools, man. They are incredible. We're gonna start simple and we'll build up to complex. That should work. Does anybody know what the word ADZ, a days, adds? Adze?
ADZ.
Yeah, it's kind of like a, we'll figure it out when we get there. All right.
It is a tool similar to an axe with an arched blade at right angles to the handle, used for cutting or shaping large pieces of wood. So it's a very similar tool to an axe. Interesting.
Yeah.
Primarily used for cutting large pieces of wood.
Nice. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
We are going to draw the days. Let's see, is this going to work? Can I get that? No, this way. Okay, that's even better. Got to zoom out.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
And we're ready for tools.
All right, groovy. I keep bumping it. There we go.
Yes, please stop bumping.
I will try. I will try. All right, Declan's in the house. Let me let him in. All right.
Oh, these are really cool.
Yeah, they get better. They get way better. Okay, so gentlemen, let's start with the bush hammer. It's just basically you're mute. Okay, let's do this. Let's do the bush hammer, and we got to start off with a rectangle for the handle, and you can let that handle. You know, but sometimes when you draw side to side, you try to draw a straight line, but it's got like a little wiggle to it. Like you can, that's fine. You don't have to use like a ruler expressly. There is a little, I want you to notice that the hammer handle itself has a little bevel at the bottom. So don't like, just because these look simple, like give them a little bit of extra attention and you'll be glad. The bottom of this has a little bevel, so I'm putting in some angled lines to show that it's been, you know, sanded down. And then the handle is more of a block. Like if you were to look at it from the side, it would be probably more blocky like this as a top and a side. But it's seen in profile. So you want to show that there's like a little bit of a transition from the side that we have here, which is like the grain of the wood that's facing us. And it turns under itself so the lines get darker. And then also on the top, it turns over itself. So the lines at the top are going to be a little bit darker. It seems like not a big deal, but it's going to make a big difference, you know, in the long run when the subtlety of observation. Yes, it's a rectangle, and yes, it's just a simple hammer handle made of wood, but the sledgehammer itself. Watch this. So if we do the bush hammer part, we can start off with a rectangle that has a height-width ratio, and you just start off with a height-width ratio. That's it. Then if you look at the corners, this corner's cropped off, and I will slow down. I'll slow down a little bit, but you know, drawing a rectangle is a rectangle, and if your rectangle is too big, whatever. It's more that you like observe these things that are going on, then you draw a perfect rectangle. All right, so I've got the top that has an angled edge. I think a bush hammer is like sort of like a sledgehammer. And I don't know how it like, you know, it's almost like a masher of potato masher. And then let's do these teeth, man, which is we're going to carve out of our rectangle. So we go triangle, 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 and then triangle. Ooh, pretty close. Now, in the way that the corners of the sledgehammer part were carved off, the tips of the chisel, like the triangles, are also carved off. And so they're not sharp. The point of them is not to be sharp. Stacy, will you read the definition of a bush hammer for us? So we needed the triangle just to put the shape in there, but we're gonna actually sand off with our pencil the sharp tip. Beautiful. This artist is making the metal look darker by using a series of what is basically called cross hatching. It's where you do a series of parallel lines going in one direction, and then if you want to darken it, you don't blur it. You wind up, you know, coming in with a different angle. And if you give the consistent line work, even if the lines go at different angles, if you keep the parallel lines, they look unified. So it looks like one tone of gray. This artist is using pen, so you can't really blend pen. If you wanted to, you could blend it with your finger, or you can use a stump, you know, a smudger.
The other thing that you have done, Trevor, that I think is really worth noting, on the handle of the bush hammer, I initially would simply draw all of my horizontal lines from, you know, point A to point B. from the end of the hammer to the, or rather the end of the hammer to the other end of the hammer. And what you've done and the artist has done is made lines and then stopped and then intermittent lines. And it really reads as more realistic.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So guys, if I draw this, a miniature version of this hammer, it's a cube. So this is the, you know, the spiked part, and then the hammer goes this way, whatever. The next one that we're going to draw, the hammer, it's a cylinder. So when I sketch it, I can slide this over a little bit. When I sketch a miniature version of it, it's going to be a cylinder hammer, and then the hammer is structured like this. So the handle goes like that. So the edges are actually rounded, and it's going to be, instead of being a cube, it's going to be a cylinder. But they look very similar as they're seen from the side. Okay, I just wanted to point that out.
And as far as the bush hammer definition, it is a tool resembling a meat tenderizer. And that's just something that you pound to make some softer. It's usually used to add a texture to a hardened material like stone or concrete. On a bush hammer, one end of the metal head is a rectangular with rows of spikes designed to create tiny pockets in concrete when it is struck.
That's cool. Thank you, Stacey.
Yeah, you're welcome. Or stone. Remember the time frame we're looking at also.
Yeah. The thing that I wanted to point out too is that in these medieval tools, the bush hammer by itself does the activity. This next one is a hammer and chisel. So these actually go hand in hand. So the chisel, you know, the stonemason holds it in one hand and then beats the end of the chisel, and the chisel chips away at the stone. It's basically the main tool, that main sculpture tool that Rodin sculpted with, and Michelangelo too. Anybody that carves out of stone uses this. Okay, so let's try it. We're gonna get the hammer the same way, and then I promise we'll do some more interesting tools after this. Let's get the handle. Starts off as a rectangle. The thing that you want to know with this hammer is, I might shorten the handle a little bit. You get what looks like a rectangle, just like the bush hammer. Yet, if you look at the top, the wood comes all the way through. So the handle is coming through the top of the sledgehammer. And you can adjust that. You can actually nail inside of that piece of wood and make it super tight. So the question is, how are you going to make this look like a cylinder? And the way that you make the hammer part, or the sledge part, look like it's cylindrical is by making the one side light, transitions in, one side dark, then it transitions into light in the middle, and then it goes dark again. So let's just give that a go. I'm going to start with the bottom, you know, where the metal attaches to the handle. Make that line basically as dark as I possibly can. And then I'm going to use straight lines, knowing that this first half is going to be kind of dark, and then it gets a little bit lighter. So I might use less marks in the middle. And then I'm going to use darker marks on the far side. So it's going to go from dark to a little bit lighter in the middle, and then dark again. And if you're thinking cylinder, it should kind of help. It looks like the underside, just like we did the bevel on the base of the hammer, the handle hammer handle. It looks like the corners of here are a little bit rounded as well. I hadn't noticed that before. And then where the handle does attach to the metal, the artist seems to make it a little bit darker. I don't know why. Definitely darker on the hammer chisel. A lot of parallel lines. Stacy was mentioning that. Oh, look at that. So on the vertical, the hammer part starts dark at the side, and it gets lighter in the middle, and then it gets dark on the other side. Look at the handle. It does the same thing. Like the top line is darker, and it gets lighter in the middle, and then it gets darker at the bottom. And that is, the handle is a cylinder in itself as well. That's sweet. If you guys finish this up, I'm just gonna quickly. I kind of want to do this other tool. Yeah, we're gonna switch over. I don't want to. Do you guys want to do the chisel? Let's do something more, a little bit cooler.
And it is 202.
202. Okay, so at 203, we're gonna switch over. And we're going to do what are called dividers, and they're called calipers. I call them calipers. They're measurable. It's like a V shape that you can measure the distance, between. You can just compare the distance and actually mark it and gauge it from one object to another. It's another sculpture tool. Yes, let's do it. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even see this lever. This lever looks like it looks like one huge nail. But it's just a crowbar. The lever. That's hilarious. The lever is just a crowbar. All right, cool. Drop this down. We're going to draw the dividers or the calipers. And then have you guys ever used a T-square? This is a medieval T-square. So it's got 4 90-degree angles. Zoom in. Move over.
Can I please see the page that you just completed, Trevor?
Yeah, but I already zoomed out.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead to the divider.
Okay.
All good. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me make this. I gotta make that level. Adjust. Okay, cool.
Have we done a level?
They don't have a level. I don't know if they used the level.
No.
Had to have used the level. They didn't have, did they have blown glass cylinders? I don't know if they had levels. They must have used the way they measured it. Okay, boys, let's do this one. All right, I'm gonna actually, believe it or not, I'm gonna start with the pinhole. So the nail that connects these two, the two shapes are exactly the same size. So that's like a little bit of a tricky part. So let's do the rounded portion of the one side of the caliper. It's gonna have a rounded edge, and then we can make it basically a long, thin triangle. So this triangle has parallel lines, and it's going to angle, and it's going to gradually get, it's like a sword actually. It's going to gradually get closer together, same grade, like the same, getting close. And then when you get really close towards the end, then it aggressively pinches into a triangle. So if you were to think about this thing in 3 parts, it would be like a semicircle up at the end. Then you have a long, thin triangle, and then a short, abrupt triangle. And now the hard part about this exercise is that you got to do the exact same thing on the other side. So you want to make sure the parallel line remains consistent as it's gradually getting closer, almost indistinguishable. Like it's almost like it's parallel, but they're not. They are getting closer.
Trevor,
Yes.
can you go over very quickly how you've talked about creating straight lines, looking a little bit forward as opposed to concentrating on the line as it's being drawn?
Yeah, and I think yeah, that's a good point. So I think what Stacy's talking about is, you know, sometimes instead of just like drawing aimlessly into the void, like into nothing, if you start with a starting point and an ending point, starting point and an ending point, and you know, if your ending point is accurate, you should be able to close off that line.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I have to go.
Alex, great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Remember, we got art camp and you know, after school Gilman class at on Wednesday.
Oh, I was just going to ask for that, Alex. Thank you. Hold it up again.
Hold that up again.
It's coming down.
Good color.
Excellent. Thank you. You got a lot of that done. Very well. Well done. You got the divider done as well. Thumbs up for you.
Great work, man. Listen, remember, the last week is the last week. And I think you guys are going full time to school again. So the Wednesdays you're on. Yeah, guys that joined, we have Mitchell School has art camp all summer. And then we also have a Gilman class that's reserved for only Gilman kids on is it Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So you can have your parents register for that as well. So in case you want to keep going with your art. Okay, the next thing is the gauge. This is how you can like measure the distance between these 2 points and basically make a comparative analysis. So the next one, they're going to get a screw right here. It's a flathead screw. This one is a pin, so it doesn't actually change. But this is a screw, and you hit the semicircle arch. And this is the actual ruler. This is like the ruler component. So whatever the unit of measure is, just call it inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. And then you can do, those are 6 inches, and then you can do half inches. I think it's just like a generic measurement. I don't think, but you know, we think generally in terms of inches and half inches. Now, the cool thing about this one is that this is probably like a polished metal, and it's lighter, and it's kind of a more refined tool. And when I say refined, I mean like it's not used to like beat things like a hammer. Like a hammer is a little bit rougher. It's used in, you know, probably like in fire, you know, if you're banging out metal in the, you know, just in like the foundry, you know, if it's a blacksmith shop. This is not used for like aggressive tool making. So you can make these parallel lines and kind of make the surface almost feel shiny and smooth. And I'm using that by using these XY coordinates. And you want to use a really refined tip. My pencil tip is not particularly sharp at the moment. But it all seems to be about the same level of polish. So whatever marks you make for the metal, use it throughout the whole thing. So it's not necessarily how you make it, it's that you're consistent with the marks that you use to describe the surface of the metal. And coincidentally, not coincidentally, but also the marks can be used on the circular measuring part. Amazing.
It is 2:10.
Yes. There's a couple other tools, gentlemen. I can't, and then we're going to switch over to cave painting. There's a lot of good ones. There's like a handsaw, like a medieval handsaw. What's the other ones? The square is awesome. I think we should draw the. How do you pronounce? Did it say how you pronounce a daze?
Can you spell it for me once again?
Yeah, it's ADZE.
Okay, and I don't know why I'm not getting your drawing, Trevor. Do you have it up on the screen?
My drawing?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I didn't do this one as well. I wonder what's the matter with the drawing? There's something the matter with it. I think it's like too blend, like I think it's because the line work made it really gray. Maybe it might be the difference between pencil and eraser, and it also might be because my lines weren't straight enough. I tried to make them straighter. I don't know. It's not the worst sketch I've ever made.
It's pronounced ads.
So it's like axe, but it's ads. Yeah, I can see that.
Actually, they're showing two alternative spellings. The other spelling is simply ADZ, but it's pronounced AIDS. AE is pronounced A, correct? Or it's pronounced AE, I think. Odds.
This one actually has how it's used. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, it's like I guess it's like a debarker. It takes the bark off of the wood. All right, gentlemen. Let's fire this guy up. I think I know it might seem like it's a little redundant because we've done these other handles, but this handle is different, and it's actually kind of sweet to sketch this one. And when I say it's different, I mean it's got the flat bottom, so I acknowledge that it's got the same bottom, but then it's almost like it's got the swelling in the handle.
Yeah.
It creates like a easier grip for your palm, and that you hold it lower. So it starts with the same bottom, and then as that rectangle emerges out, it swells a little bit, and then it's going to narrow in at the neck. Some of the things that
excuse me.
It's okay. What's up?
I was just going to say it reminds me a little bit of a baseball bat.
The end of a baseball bat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's a great way to think about it. It reminds me of the hammer that my dad had when I was a kid. It's got this little rectangular foot base, and then the artist in this case really emphasizes the dark line at the bottom. So the light is clearly coming from up above, and you can use the lines that run lengthwise. You can also add some diagonal lines to show that the handle curves under itself. And then I think what Stacy was talking about, one of the things where the way that the way that the metal is formed, the metal actually has a neck. So it's not like the hatchet part. I'm just going to call it the hatchet part, or the daze part. That is soldered to the neck, and then the wood attaches to the neck. So if you look at the metal part where it's attaching to the piece of, the blade part, that reminds me of the grip of a baseball bat. If we use this idea that it's upside down. So getting the three-dimensional property, I don't think should be that hard if we just do first things first. So let's do the part of the blade, the thin part that faces us. And, that's going to be almost like the shape of a talon, or a long, a talon, like of a bird's nail, or like a very thin beak almost, some kind of bird. if you show that part, it starts thick at the top and then it comes to this refined point. Now, there's a rectangular top. And then there's the blade part, which is actually really quite wide. So then we'll just attach the other side.
That's quite a tool.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of awesome. I don't know why does it seem like it's out of focus?
Yes.
It does, doesn't it? It's parallel. I'm just not getting good light. I'm just adjusting it. I really want it to be in focus for you all. That's the best I can do. All right, so the base of the neck here is cylindrical, and we're going to use more marks. As we decorate the metal part, we're going to use more marks so that it reads like metal and not wood. The light marks on the wood handle, you know, suggests just like a lighter material. Metal is darker than wood. And so by using darker marks for the metal, it's easier to imagine that it is, in fact, metal. The top of the hammer part, that's going to be light. The side, the first part that we did, is going to be a little bit darker, still light. And then the part that's facing away, the broad side, that one's going to be darkest. And you can just follow the directions of the marks that the artist provides you. And I haven't mentioned this at all because I don't even think I've seen it, but look at the marks that they use for like the background. Do you think we should do that? It doesn't make
I hadn't even noticed.
it look like it's on the table, but it makes it, does it make it feel like it's in an environment? I don't know.
No.
I wonder if my camera is broken because I cannot keep it in focus. ADUE ads aids. On both accounts, the underside of the handle and the underside of the metal part are all in much deeper shadow. Okay. It looks like there's a little transition into the base for structure. All right. I love this thing.
Will we have a 2-minute warning?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't tell if I'm going fast today or if I'm going slow. Is 2 minutes going to be enough before we switch over to cave paintings?
You're going good enough.
Thanks, Declan. I appreciate it, bro. All right, so Stacy, this is your official 2-minute warning.
Ah, okay. If no one else needs it, then let's move on. How about that, guys?
A 2-minute warning. No, we need a 2-minute warning.
All right.
I might try to fit the piece of wood onto this sketch. I love that piece of wood. It's a quarter. You can actually see that it's a quarter log. And these like pieces of bark are like being peeled off the side. It's awesome.
Would anyone care to show?
Sounded like
Anybody like way ahead of me doesn't even need that 2-minute warning, right?
if anybody has a good one, let Stacy take a picture of it. It's awesome.
Mm. Declan, here we, oh, freeze it. Nice. Yeah. Very nice. I like that mark making. Oh, all right.
These tools are so good.
These are great. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And I like how you really darken that left side of the hammer part.
Yeah, thanks for the buy-in. Declan, great work. Ooh, there it goes. There's Declan's measurer.
Yeah, hold that a little bit away from the screen. Yep. There you go. Great.
You got one more that I can see. Stacy, did you get that last one?
No, I didn't. Not yet. Ah, Finn.
Yeah.
Hold that up just the tiniest bit. Yep, 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 yep. Great. I really like your, oh, Trevor, what is the measuring device called?
The dividers? Calipers.
Thank you. Yeah. Declan, these are great. Well done. Got that, Declan. Anyone else? Feel free to share.
We almost did Charlotte's Web today, too. I'm so glad we did this instead.
I've done my sketchbook.
You did? Ready for another one. If you're continuing on.
Okay, so yes, gentlemen.
Oh, hold that up, Declan. What was that? I don't want to miss that.
I did this earlier.
Yeah. Nice. And you've got somebody holding it up. Great. Okay. And it is 2:23.
Okay, cool. Yeah. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back about 15, 20, 19,500 years earlier.
Wow.
Yes, we're gonna go back in time slightly. But what we're gonna sketch is where are they? We're gonna sketch these primitive flint tools that they discovered from cavemen, and then we're gonna sketch a caveman painting. I don't know where the blades went. I thought I had them marked, but maybe not. Oh, here they are. Yes. Yes. All right, so I have not yet drawn this one dagger, and you guys are kind of warmed up, so I will explain it, and then we're gonna draw this epic 20,000-year-old knife blade.
Please.
Yeah, it's fun. No, I just dropped my coffee all over that book we just drew on.
Oh.
Okay, boys, you ready? The nice thing about this blade is that there's not that many parts to it, and we're gonna draw the. I had to clean this up. So.
Was it hot coffee?
It was not hot. It was cold coffee. Cold coffee.
Good.
All right, so we have to draw the parts with generally, and then we're gonna add the details. Okay, so this just like the obvious part is gonna be basically the sharp cutting part. You want to think about like your regular kitchen knives, like what you cut steak with. All right, so this we're gonna not draw any of the details of it just yet, but we're gonna draw this curving part of the blade that comes down, and then there's gonna be the structural part, which is a little bit straighter. That comes down the back side. And this is typically the part of your knife that does not have any tooth to it. Like if you get a steak knife, the steak knife has got the tooth, and then the back side is like kind of a smooth piece of metal. Now, every blade has to go into the handle. And, so we have this miniature triangle down here where I think it goes into the handle. I could be wrong. It could be a different type of blade, but it's basically the smaller triangle. Now, before we do any of the details on the outside, the blade itself, since it's made out of stone, the edges are going to be sharp, but they're going to be brittle and they're going to be weak. So you have to keep this thing nice and thick. And so where we have to look is this center line, which basically is the thickest part of the blade, so that it actually has some density to it and won't break. If the edges are thin and it's made out of stone, if the whole thing is thin, it'll become brittle and it'll break. So like unlike metal, which you can have the tooth and you can have the thinness because it still has the strength, stone is different. Okay, so I'm going to give you a hint over here. The way the tooth of the steak knife goes, it's going to be these concavities. And then the way that the stone goes is that at every tip, there's going to be a little straight line. And then where that chip happens, you have to finish the chip. Okay, so you'll see what I mean. And then inside of this chip, it usually gets shaded. So we're going to do the outside tooth first. So let's just do the blade, outside tooth first. Wonk, wonk. You can copy the line that you're witnessing in this artifact, or you can just make it like your steak knife. I go off of both. Like I'm looking at the size generally of these arches, and then I'm also considering just doing it my own style too. Okay. Yeah, why don't we take it all the way to the bottom? We'll just take it all the way to the bottom. At least we got that one side. So looking at this chip in the middle, every point needs a straight line. And then you connect it with a bowl. So you take a straight line, connect it with a bowl. Take the straight line at this tip, and you could do all the tips if you wanted to, and then connect them uniquely with this webbing of straight lines. Hopefully you can see how the edge of the blade is the thinnest part. It's also razor sharp. Sharp as a razor. It's what flint is able to do. You take another stone and you tap it, and you break off these little teeny pieces, depending on the size, the angle, and the pressure. It chips off these edges, and I mean they're sharper than a dinner knife. I mean they're sharper than the metal knives. Cool. This to this to this to this. So I got where each little cluster happens, each little arch, I make a little straight line. Do it at the bottom, and then you web them together because that's how the stone broke off. And already it should look like kind of a primitive tool. I haven't added any light and shade, but trust me, it's coming and it's not hard. The light is coming from above, you know, so if you want to, you can almost think about like a half pipe. If you ever goes like, you know, skating or like snowboarding, like I used to snowboard the half pipe. I snowboarded a half pipe on a glacier in the Swiss Alps, and it was like so unbelievable. Anyway, sorry. When the light hits one side, it's in the light, and then on the other side, it's in shadow. So if the light's up above, think about each one of these chips as a half pipe. So the rounded part above is in shadow, and then the bowl shape on the bottom is light. So each line that we made, you can actually re-sketch the tone, and it becomes very three-dimensional. It's like freaky how three-dimensional it is without barely doing anything. I mean, I'm just taking the line, and under the line, I'm just adding a couple curved lines to make it feel like the roundness of the chip. And I think mine looks even better than theirs.
Yeah, yours is definitely cleaner, and I think it allows to show the curvature, the depth of the curvature much better.
Thanks, Stace. Yeah,
You're welcome.
I think so too. Yeah, like mine, I'm not copying his. I'm like just copying his same techniques. When I say his, I'll tell you who it is a guy. I saw it on the cover. The illustrator did all of these illustrations, and he did a phenomenal job. I feel bad that I just got this book this week. And like I said, I've never drawn any of these primitive tools. I've never drawn any of these cave paintings. I just got an influx of like a ton of new art books, and it was like Christmas. I mean, it really was. Okay, this whole side, which is interesting. We're gonna do the bottom part the exact same way, but I think we might be kind of running out of time. So like, we'll come back and we'll finish it. But the parts that I want to show are the new parts. So the straight side, remember this is a stone. So it is smooth, but it's not without its little irregularities. So you can see as we go down, there's these little parts where it probably at one point, 20,000 years ago, might have been a smooth edge. But here, there's like, you follow a straight line, and there's a little divot. And then you follow another straight line, and then there's another divot. Straight line, divot. And you're basically accounting for a smooth edge that's 20,000 years old. And I'm not looking at the actual stone. They did not include photographs of the stone. They only included these, these archaeological renderings. So this art that we're doing right here falls under the category of science illustration. So you can get hired to go to archaeological sites, and you light the object perfectly and you draw it, and it actually winds up revealing more information than a bad photograph of an artifact. So that side was easy. The next part is how we're going to handle these ridges. So we did the main ridge down the center, and let me remind you, there's a second ridge too, which is kind of cool. Let me remind you that the light is coming from above and the left. So if you take this half pipe theory, this curving convexity, it's a convexity, the whole ridge going down the middle is that. It is a side of a half pipe. And it's not a half pipe, it's just like kind of like a soft cylinder. But if you were to continue it, and if the right scale, it could be a half pipe. It's got the ridge has got this aggressively dark lip, and then the lines are consistently separated, the same distance apart, and the lines that run in this like curvature help shade this side of the middle of the knife before you get to the chipped blade edge. But this is the structural part of the stone knife. The second ridge, believe it or not, follows the exact same signature. So we'll follow this dark lip, and then it curves the other way. Nice. Okay, so this curved with like the bowl facing up. This is curving with the bowl facing down. Oh my God, thank God I looked at that. I almost drew that completely wrong. And these are called contour lines. These are called bracelet lines. But their even spacing, really makes them feel like a tone and not a texture. If these lines are too irregular, it'll take on an identity of a texture that the tool may not have actually had. I did that side first because the other side is way easier. The other side is basically, it looks like a ladder, like a stairway to heaven, meaning it's heaven because it's so easy to do. You're just going to be making these horizontal lines that are well spaced, but they don't touch either side. So I'm just doing these parallel lines, trying to keep them consistently separated. And it's a little bit of a almost like, I don't want to say tedious, but it's almost like a test. Like, can you make the whole side striped without touching either side? It's like a operation, that game where you can't touch either side, and then the line can't touch any other line. So each line that I'm running down this ladder pole has to be floating. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it has to be in isolation before I do the cross section. That one was a little too far apart.
And it's 2:35.
35. Okay, thanks. This one took longer than I was thinking. but it's
Work.
so good. It's such a good lesson. The drawings are so tight. I know it. Okay, let me go back to it. This is like you have to maintain concentration. I'm almost there. And mine is even bigger than his. My knife blade, I made it larger. And I even made the ridge thinner too. That's okay. Ooh, don't touch anything. Okay, so this is
Discipline.
X direction, meaning this is their horizontal lines. And there is a Y direction, which is a little bit curvy and it might be a little bit angled. So I'm coming across and it almost reads like a woven fabric, even though it has nothing to do with fabric. This is stone. But the lines look, and like they get thinner as they transition away.
Yeah, you know, the edge that you're doing right, or that you're working on right now,
Yeah.
reminds me of a file, you know, like a nail file or like a metal file that you could use on obviously different.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the gridding.
Yeah.
On cars and stuff.
Right.
That being said, we'll have time. We got at least 10 more minutes left, maybe 8 more minutes. We got to try one cave painting at least.
And if you want to go, please let me know and I can take a pic.
Yeah, if you guys, I know some of you guys have had to leave early in the past. If you have to leave early, please hold your dagger up, your caveman dagger. I can't. I mean, I am just delighted at how good I'm not at how good my drawing is. I'm not saying my drawing is good. I looked at these and I did not have a whole lot of respect for them. I was like, oh, I'm always more interested in the knife blade itself when I started, and now I'm actually even more interested in the artist because he did it's such a good solution to these. It's just a good drawing, and not you don't always appreciate, you know, good art can be staring you in the face, and you don't always see it right away.
Well, I think that really speaks to some lessons that I've had with you. And I look at the lesson and initially I'm simply not interested. And then I start listening and drawing and I find that I'm really interested.
Oh, also, Stacy, I got you a present.
I love presents.
I know. I can't
You
wait.
Did?
Yeah, we're gonna have to meet in person though for me to hand it to you.
Oh my goodness. I love presents.
Yeah, maybe we can do it this way.
Thank you for thinking of me.
You're welcome. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but you'll like it.
I'm sure I will, just because you thought of me.
Did you sketch this by any chance, Stacey?
I've sketched all of them except for this one because I had to leave my table momentarily.
So guys, I'm gonna slide this over. I think we'll probably do a cave painting next week. But if you wanted to keep going on the blades, there's 2 other forms. I think D I thought it was an arrowhead. It's actually not an arrowhead, it's a boring tool. So you drill holes. Basically it's a drill, a hand drill. And then C.
Can you move yours down just a skosh, Trevor?
Yeah.
I can't see the tip of it. There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. Stace, we got a photo. I think that's Declan. There it is.
It is Declan. Very nice. You found more paper. glad, very glad to see that. Got a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, good, like real good. Do you guys want to do? You guys want to do a cave painting real quick? Let's do it. Yeah, I think it's worth it. You guys have drawn these enough. I'm going to send you what I think is one of the easier ones, but it's not because it's easy, but it's because there's fewer marks, and it looks like the happiest horse ever. I don't know what the deal is, but it's a galloping horse, and he looks so happy.
Bye, Mr. Twist.
All right, see you, boss. Brendan, good to see you, man.
Take care. Have
Bye.
a great week.
Next week's the last week.
Bye.
We have to have a party.
Yeah, this is the last week, guys.
No, next week.
Talk to your parents if you're, next week is?
Yeah, next week's the last week.
Okay. Good. I started to get sad. I don't need to be sad.
There's always next year. Oh yeah. Elbow to wrist, wrist to knuckle, knuckle to hoof.
Oh.
Knee to ankle.
A message from the Holy Ham. Goodbye and safe traveling.
Holy Ham, good to see you. Did you want to show us anything before you left?
See, these are so good. I don't care what anybody says. And they're not easy to do. Like this is almost, it feels like almost like a hieroglyphic.
This kind of
Yeah.
like the front of this kind of reminds me of the seahorse we drew a while ago.
Good point. It does. We almost did seahorses again. So I'm just trying to thicken up. This is done with a brush. So it's an artist using pen and pencil to draw a brush stroke, which is a little bit weird. I have to admit, it's like, how do you use pencil to draw a brush, rather than just use a brush? But that's part of what the business is. I mean, science illustration, requires you to draw all different kinds of stuff with a pencil. And this happens to be a painting on a rock. And we have to draw that with a pencil. There's his hoof. You can see that perfect hoof. I mean, it's twofold. I mean, it's the cave painting, which you can stand in awe of. And it's also the artist trying to do justice to a cave painting, which is also not an easy task. I'm like so thankful to both artists. I have to try to do this one again. I was rushing.
I love this.
Yeah, this is up your alley, Stace.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've really done it justice, but I so enjoy this mark making.
He's got
Yes.
big thick.
Mr. Twist, are we gonna draw more cave paintings next Wednesday?
Yeah, we should. Are we gonna get? Would you like that? Yeah, I got to follow up on it. I got kind of wrapped up in that tool, the stone tool. It was just it was also, very cool.
Cool too.
I need to go. I didn't really draw with.
Did you want to show any work? Let's see that deck. Oh, hold that nice and still. And a little, there you go. Nice and still. Thanks.
Declan,
I like that.
We'll definitely do that.
What?
Wait, what did you say?
We will do more.
Trevor,
There's some really good ones.
Bye.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you.
You're welcome.
bye-bye, Declan. Thank you. Trevor, can you let me see that horse just for a second longer?
My drawing or the reproduction?
Both, but first the repro.
Yep. How's that?
That is excellent. I thank you.
You're welcome. Maddie, is that you? Are you still on the Zoom? Okay. Stace, I'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna rush Tucker out.
Okay,
So
cool.
I will be back in just a moment.
I'll turn the Zoom back on.
Yeah, I just want to see yours. Take a picture of yours really fast. Whoops, if I may.
Yeah. I gotta go back to
Thank
screen share. Screen share. All right, how's that? Do you want the there it goes. That's nice.
That's very nice. Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't rushing so hard, but I think it was worth it anyway.
Yeah,
I
for
will
sure.
see you in the next class very shortly.
Okay, be right back.
All right, bye.
Okay, talk.